Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome into this week's edition of my top waiver wire targets and streamable defenses for Week 15 of this NFL season. Obviously, if you guys are watching this video, that means you did make the playoffs, but you may still need to make some roster movements. Maybe if you lost Justin Herbert, or if you're maybe looking for some handcuffs, or maybe to take away potential players that your opponent might be trying to pick up this week. With that being said, I'm going to dive right into this video. As always, these waiver wire ads, they have to have at least 50% roster availability. So there is a good chance that they're out there available on the market. And this is going to be a very heavily Tennessee Titan theme waiver wire edition as well this week. Starting at quarterback, going with that rookie quarterback with the Titans, Will Levis. He's available in 82% of the leagues. He's coming off one of his better performances of the season in that crazy comeback win against the Miami Dolphins last night, where he threw for 327 yards. He had a touchdown and an interception. He also had that 2-point conversion. And what's a kind of like sneaky factor with Will Levis, he's kind of like, people don't realize he can run the ball. He's not like he lit up like a Michael Vick type of a performance, but he still had 4 rushes for 15 yards. So he slightly gives you a floor with his rushing ability if he does have to take off and run with the ball. And the reason why I do like him this week is if you guys lost Justin Herbert, or maybe you're still looking for a potential answer, or maybe you've just been streaming quarterbacks all season. He's got a very solid matchup against the Texans defense. They are allowing 18.2 points per game this season. That is the 7th most allowed. And I don't really like to factor in the uniforms, but let's just go ahead and say this too. Remember when Will Levis threw those three or four touchdowns against the Atlanta Falcons in those Houston Oilers uniforms? Well, the Titans are wearing the Oiler uniforms against Houston this week, so maybe he can repeat that performance in that uniform set for Tennessee in Week 15. My running back out of the week, again, something I've been hammering home over the last few weeks for you guys in this video, in my waiver wire sections, is getting guys as handcuffs. And now we know who the handcuff is to get in Cincinnati if something were to happen to Joe Mixon over the next 2 or 3 weeks. And that's their rookie running back, Chase Brown. He's available in 94% of the leagues. He's been getting more work the past 2 weeks. This past weekend, he had 8 rushes for 25 yards. He had 3 receptions for 80 yards and a touchdown on 3 targets. Now, over their last 2 games, he's touched the ball at least 9 times. Now, I don't think he's like a flex player or anything like that. This is more if you are a Joe Mixon manager that's in the playoffs right now. You need to make sure you have Chase Brown on your bench, because if Mixon were to get hurt this week, you need to be able to replace him with a guy that you know that's going to get the volume of touches the following week. And like I said, don't love him as a flex play this week, more of a stash ad. And because also too, the Bengals running backs do draw a tough matchup this week, going against that Vikings defense, only giving up 12.4 points per game, which is the 3rd fewest allowed in the league. But yeah, I definitely believe though, if you're a Mixon manager in the playoffs right now, you better make sure you get Brown on your bench just in case you were to lose Mixon on the way to the championship game. My wide receiver ad of the week, if you're looking for a wide receiver depth, or if you're maybe looking for somebody to pluck and play in your lineup, I think I like Odell Beckham Jr. this week. He's still available in 59% of the leagues. This past weekend, he had 6 receptions for 60 yards and a touchdown on 10 total targets. You know I love it anytime a tight end or a wide receiver sees 10 targets in the team's passing attack. And it seems like he's getting more... I don't know if he's getting more acclimated. I don't know if it's just him kind of been shaking off the rust to start the beginning of the season, but he's getting more targets in this offense. Over the last 5 games for Baltimore, OBJ has seen at least 7+ targets in 3 of those 5 games, and he draws a very solid matchup this weekend going against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are giving up 24.6 points per game. That's tied for the 6th most allowed this season to the wide receiver position. So if you need a plug-and-play type of guy, I think I would, or a sneaky play type of play this week, I do like OBJ. But you definitely, I think if you need some wide receiver depth on your team as you try to get to the championship game so you can deal with any potential injuries, I think he's a very solid ad to have on your bench. My tight end out of the week, this would be a very solid streaming option as well, keeping with that Tennessee Titans theme to end this waiver wire video. But I'm going to go with that tight end who's finally came on. He didn't live up to his hype to start the year, but it seems like he's starting to get more play in the offense, similar to like OBJ. Now, Chigo Okonkwo is available in 66% of the leagues as of today. And this past Monday night game, he had 5 receptions for 46 yards on 6 targets. Now, when you look at his last 5 games, he's actually gotten 5+ targets in 4 of those last 5 games. And he does draw a very decent matchup against the Texans defense, who's given up 8 points a game to tight ends this year. That is the 7th most allowed. Seems like he's starting to get that role in this offense. Him and Levis are building this chemistry and this connection. And I wouldn't be surprised if he has a good performance on Sunday in that matchup. Sticking with those Titans, but this is, guys, if you've been watching me all season long, I've been saying add Tajay Spears. And especially now that they're starting to really work him into the offense. I saw the stat where he actually outsnapped Derrick Henry in that game last night. But yeah, if you're a Derrick Henry manager, go pick up Tajay Spears right now. He's available in 56% of the leagues. On that Monday night game, he had 7 rushes for 29 yards. He had 6 receptions for 89 yards on 8 total targets. And you look at the last 2 games, in each of those games, he's received at least 13 plus touches. And that's with Derrick Henry playing. And then in those 2 games, he's gotten targeted in their passing attack at least 6 times in those games. So even with Derrick Henry's playing, he's starting to see a larger and an increasing role. And this can go back to even Chase Brown, what I was talking about, the rookie running back for Cincinnati. You also got to think with Henry and Mixon, those guys are not going to be on the team next year. They're both in their final years of their contract. So this is also the point of the year where teams I guess, the Bengals do have a chance at the postseason, but this is when they start to try to get those younger players getting their development so they're prepared for a bigger role next season. So that's something to factor in, not only with Spears but also Chase Brown. And as far as the matchup this week, he could maybe be a sneaky flex play. Texans are right in the middle of the pack as far as points allowed. They're giving up 16.2 points per game, but definitely if you made the playoffs with Derrick Henry, you should definitely have Tajay Spears on your bench if he's out there on the market for you. Moving into my next section, the top streaming defenses for Week 15. As always, as a reminder, in case I do happen to have a first-time listener by the time we got to the postseason of fantasy football, these defenses do have to have at least 50% roster availability per Yahoo, so there is a good chance that these defenses are out there for you to pluck off the market. My number 1 streaming defense, this is a team that is playing in that Thursday night matchup that nobody's going to really be excited to see Easton Stick and Aiden O'Connell play, but I do like the Chargers as a sneaky streaming defense this week against the Raiders. When we look at the data points, the Raiders, they're tied for the 2nd most giveaways this season. And then the Raiders are also only scoring 15.5 points per game. That is tied for the 4th fewest across the NFL. And then when you look at the Chargers, mainly because of Khalil Mack, they actually have the 2nd most sacks right now across the NFL. So you got a team, an offense that's given the ball away. They don't really put up much points, so that the fact that they're not putting up much points this season, that gives you a little bit of a high floor. The giveaways could definitely give you a high ceiling, and then you can even stack on top of that if the Chargers can get pressure on O'Connell throughout the night and get those sacks and maybe force that rookie quarterback into those mistakes. My number 2 streaming defense, I am going to go with the Colts against the Steelers. Colts are available in 58% of the leagues. It's already been confirmed. It will be Mitch Trubisky at quarterback. So if Mitch Trubisky's playing, there's always a good chance, like we saw with the Patriots, where there could be at least an interception. There was, I think, if I remember that game right, that was almost a pick 6. But I think the guy got tackled at like the 15 or 20-yard line maybe. But when we look at the data points, I like the Colts because I think they have a high floor this week because that Pittsburgh offense has been struggling for basically the whole entire year. They only score 16.2 points per game this season. That is the 5th fewest across the league. And then when you look at the Colts defense, they are tied for the 4th most takeaways this season. They just had that pick 6 last week against Cincinnati, and they are actually tied for the 3rd most sacks. So you got a defense that's been able to get home for most of the time this season, and I think they have like 17 games in a row where they've taken the ball away from the defense, and then you got that offense that's not scoring a lot of points, so that's why I like them as a streaming defense in Week 15. My number 3 streaming defense, I think you can do this every week against the Panthers, but yeah, the Falcons defense against the Panthers. Falcons are available in 67% of the leagues right now, strictly all because the Panthers are just a complete disaster right now. The Panthers have allowed the 4th most sacks in the league, and they're only scoring 15.2 points per game this season. That is the 3rd fewest in the NFL. I think this is more of a floor play. I don't really see the ceiling in this because the Falcons defense has kind of been a mixed bag every week. They don't have the proven being in the top 5 as far as takeaways or sacks, but the Panthers have shown they've been giving up sacks and they don't really score a lot of points. So I see them being a very solid floor play as a streaming defense in week 15. My number 4 streaming defense, I am going to go with the Rams against the Commanders. The Rams are available in 82% of the leagues right now, and it's mainly because of the Washington offense. Washington, they have the 3rd most giveaways, so they are giving the ball away plenty of times this season. And they have allowed the 2nd most sacks, and they're going against a defensive line that has Aaron Donald. So I like the chances that Aaron Donald's going to have like 2+ sacks in this game. And you got to know if Aaron Donald can maybe get his hands on Sam Howell, maybe can knock out a fumble recovery type of touchdown type of play. So I see this as like, if you stream the Rams defense, you're going for the ceiling play, right? You're going for those giveaways. You're going for those sacks, and it's been shown by the Washington offense they've been doing both of those throughout the year. My number 5 streaming defense, I'm going to go with the Bengals against the Vikings. This might be like a 12-14 team league type of streaming defense. Bengals are available in 75% of the leagues right now, but there's a couple reasons. I think this is a ceiling type of stream if you were to get the Bengals. The Minnesota Vikings are actually tied for the 2nd most giveaways this season. It has been announced that Nick Mullins is going to be the starting quarterback. Nick Mullins might be able to work in the pockets, better than Dobbs, but I still think he could be able to make those mistakes as he's shown throughout his career. He kind of plays the position safe, but he can still throw those potential interceptions. And speaking of that, the Cincinnati Bengals are actually tied for the 4th most takeaways this season. So you got an offense that gives the ball away going against a defense that's been very solid at taking the ball away. So if you wanted to go for a ceiling type of performance out of your defense, I would definitely consider the Cincinnati Bengals as well this week. So yeah, that is my top waiver wire ads and streamable defenses for week 15, the first week of the fantasy football playoffs. If there's any players or defenses I did not speak about, you guys already know the drill. Get in the comments, DMs, shoot me a text, and I always try to get back to you as soon as possible. As always, tomorrow night you'll get my top starts and sits for this week. I'm gonna hop off here. You guys enjoy your night, your day, your morning, whenever you're watching this. Peace out. Talk to you later.